Welcome to Ultramodern. This is a lifestyle and creative podcast created by Crosswalk Future Of that examines the ways that God is moving and working in today's world. To learn more about Future Of, follow us on Instagram at futureof.cw.
Hello, Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to the Ultramodern podcast.
Welcome, everybody.
It's me, Andy, here with Isai.
Yes, I can't see because my glasses are so foggy.
Dude,
But it's just going to happen, bro. I don't got much to see.
I
over here
literally
anyway.
cannot see your eyes right now. They're so
Dude,
foggy.
You're not missing on anything, bro.
I'm sorry, bro.
It's okay.
You should get contacts. We talked about this already.
Dude, we did talk about this. Only cycles touch their eyeball.
That's so true.
That's weird, bro. I don't know about
that. We cannot do that.
It's got to be better.
But hello, Happy New Year. Really quick before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to Devin. What up, Devin?
Dude.
He is our producer today.
Come on
over,
in,
bro.
this way, bro.
This
Take
way,
my
this
seat.
side.
Take my seat.
Say what's up for a bit. 3, 2, 1. What's up,
What's
bro?
up, ladies
How
and
are
gentlemen?
you?
How are you, bro?
We just no touching.
Oh,
We didn't fist bump.
which is like,
But we totally did.
ah.
Oh, dude, that was good. I like that. That was a good movie.
Yeah, dog, you know, Big Hero 6, we love it. We
For
love
sure,
it.
dude. How are you, bro?
I'm well, I am happy to be here. I'm blessed to be here. It's a new year and just, continuing for the journey. 2020 was rough, but
It was
I'm
rough.
here and I'm ready for it.
Exactly, bro.
2021.
We're ready for 2021.
Yes, sir.
Dude, real quick,
Talk to me.
if you can, drop some wisdom for us right now. 2021, we're going into the new year. What do you have to say to people?
All right, so we're going into this new year, right?
Mm-hmm.
We feel like 2021 was just a mess.
A mess.
I'm sorry, 2020 was just a mess, not 2021.
There you
Whew,
go.
Getting ahead of myself there.
It's okay.
But we feel like 2020 was a mess, and we feel like, step into 2021, and it's all of a sudden just going to be a new, and it's, better year and better and ready for all of that, right? But we don't know what's on the other side of 2021. It could be worse than 2020. It could be better than 2020. We don't know. But what I learned during 2020 is we have to be ready for the entire journey, We have to have a strong foundation.
Hey,
we have
let's
to have that
go.
support system from the beginning to get us through
Let's
the
go,
entire
Devin.
journey, which is life. Not just 2020,
Exactly.
not just 2021, but the entire journey, which is our lives.
Hey.
We have to be fueled up and ready for that.
Exactly.
So that's what I'm learning
Hey,
from
bro.
2021.
Oh, no
Ba-da-da.
touching. La, la, la. Hey, that's fire, bro.
Yeah, dog.
We're here for the journey, not
We're
for the
here
moment.
For the journey.
Hey, you seen Soul?
I have seen Soul.
Dude, that movie, inspiring, bro. That's what changed my perspective on this year. But we got to talk about it
We will.
soon.
We will.
Hey, I love you,
I love you too, bro.
bro. I'll see you in a little bit.
I'll be
Because
behind
you'll
the
be right
scenes.
there, yeah.
I'm just
But
doing my
now-
thing.
Exactly,
You
bro.
guys have a good. Hey, yo, welcome to Future of
Hey,
the podcast,
let's
Ultramodern. It's gonna be a great year.
It's going to be an insane year.
Insane.
Awesome year. Hey, love you, bro.
Thank
Thanks
you for having
being
me.
here. Of course, bro.
I feel like I'm not like a quarter as inspiration as this guy, dude.
Dude,
This
he
guy's
is
very inspirational.
Oh,
wow,
yeah,
bro.
Dude, we met at Stell's. What day was that? Monday? Tuesday?
Monday.
It was on Monday. And, bro, both of us were just feeling it, bro.
That's
We were just
amazing.
inspiring each other. Guy was just moving.
Just great bro conversation.
Yeah, you need community this year. If that should be
For real.
that should be a resolution. Get a good community around you.
Yeah, I think there should be a podcast that features you, bro.
Yes.
That features Devin.
Bro, you should be on the next one.
It's gonna
if you're
happen.
down.
The next one.
Hey, 2021.
the
future of.
the future of.
Exactly. Cool.
Yes,
Well,
man.
welcome everybody to the podcast. It's a new year. The last time that you heard from me from the Future of Podcast was when we were with Darren and Bailey. We talked about AI. We talked about art. May have offended some people. That's okay. It happens sometimes, right? It happens. And now we're in a new year, and we are going to be in a new series called Rebuild the Dream. And, we are not meeting in person right now. We are completely online, and we are putting out content just through the podcast right now. And together, we are going to be talking through this idea of rebuilding the dream. And really what it means is 2020 was a tough year, and
Tough.
I can't tell you, like, we talked in 2019, and we had a bunch of dreams, not just for 2020, but for the decade.
Yeah.
Like, we were so excited come 2020, and even on the other side of it now, it was a hard year.
Tough, man.
Tough. And
Really tough.
you showed me this meme yesterday, and if maybe you could say it a bit better than I can.
I don't actually remember. I sent you a lot of memes.
You did. It
I
was
totally forgot which one it is.
it was the one where it's like youth pastors at the beginning of the year, like
Oh yeah.
2020. Am I right? Like you do it better because I feel like you know if not.
Dude, I actually don't remember that at all.
You showed it to us in the meeting. It was like
Oh,
2020.
yeah.
Like
Dude, I actually should just read it to you guys.
yeah, read it to us. 'Cause
Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about. This kind of sort of hit me, and it really just talks about almost this. We're going right into it, but almost just like this fakeness
Yes.
that specifically, church people feel like they have to, like almost this naive hope,
Yeah.
Yeah. Where we should be very hopeful, but it almost comes across as like, bro, how do you see your saved stuff
Inauthentic.
again? I literally asked you this the other day.
Saved.
Boom. I'm an old guy right now.
Yeah, there's like a sense of inauthenticity, right?
Right. So the tweet said 300,000 Americans dead. Church promo videos. What a wacky year it's been, church. Remember the toilet paper crisis? Aren't we all Zoom experts now? Anyways, we can't wait to see you here on Christmas Eve. Let's thank God for all he has done. And that one hit. I feel like I was personally attacked there because I've done that.
Yeah.
Like I've been there and I do that.
Me too.
And I don't think like this is necessarily wrong. Like to all my church people, I hear you. Like we got to stay hopeful and stuff. But it also made me think like, do we actually know how to lament with people?
Dang. Yeah.
And sit in that place where we can honestly say, dude, last year sucked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think I actually go between those very often. On the one hand, I'm like, yeah, we have to just acknowledge how tough this year was and kind of live in that. On the other hand, I feel like I don't want to just be caught up saying, let me just forget about 2020
Right.
and dismiss it
Right.
because it was that traumatic and not actually sift through what happened, analyze what happened this past year, and use that so that we can better ourselves, better our society. I feel like that's not the way to just like, it sucked, so I never want to think about that ever again.
Right.
But actually, this year, if anything, it exposed so much
Yeah.
of our broken selves, our broken system, our broken churches. Like it just exposed it. And although it was tough, it's like we have to analyze it,
Yeah.
and go hard and actually say, dude, this was real. Why did this happen the way it did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like in counseling, if you've been in counseling before, I go to counseling. I try to go often, but it's hard to go sometimes. So if you're trying to go, I encourage you to go.
You should go.
But in counseling, everything that you talk about is stuff that happened in the past.
Yeah.
And in fact, counseling is a place where you actually have to talk about the most difficult things that you've gone through.
Yeah.
And in a sense, in order to get to a place of healing and to experience life in maybe a more profound way,
Right.
you actually have to be willing to trudge through the difficult
Right.
moments in your life. And, like you said, churches can sometimes sugarcoat or maybe
Right.
like cartoonize, I don't know how to say it, the past and be like, what a wacky year.
Right.
Like,
That doesn't
no.
fully summarize.
Yeah, it was a hard year.
It's tough, man.
Sometimes you have to, not sometimes, it's good to accept that, to recognize last year was hard.
Yeah, dude.
A lot of difficult things happened last year.
Yeah, man. I love that, and even the parallel to the work that you do in counseling.
Mm-hmm.
There's an analogy that I gave someone, and it was in the conversation about anxiety, because I always have kind of dealt with anxiety. I'm still learning to deal with it from a very young age, and if just parentheses, if you're kind of dealing with all that, like reach out for help, find counseling. Like you're not alone in this.
Yeah.
But the analogy that I gave is for a long time, this whole an issue like anxiety, but also the way that 2020 played out can be seen a little bit kind of like a leak in the roof.
Mm.
Okay, so you have a leak in the roof. Something's clearly wrong, and there's a couple things you can do. there's the kind of the quick solution is put a bucket,
Right.
right? You put a bucket, and sometimes you need to do that. Like, you need that quick solution, that quick, like, when you put a bucket there, because if not, like, this thing's going to ruin my carpet or kind of
Right,
mess things
yeah.
up, right? But sometimes we just got to get comfortable switching the buckets, right? And time passes, and that just becomes part of our routine.
Right.
There's still a leak, right? There's still an issue,
Yeah.
but we're just like putting buckets. And it actually never ends up solving anything.
Right.
So the parallel that I gave with anxiety is like, there are these ways, these healthy ways, that can be almost like a helpful fix, right? To maybe panic attacks when you're feeling anxiety. And you
Right.
need that. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes you need to put the bucket there. But eventually, you actually need to do the dirty work.
Right.
You got to put your gloves on.
Mhm.
You got to, I don't know if put your gloves on or,
Yeah.
I've never actually
I'm
fixed
not a
one of these.
roofer.
Yeah.
That's what they're
But
called, right? A
go
roofer?
into, yeah, I don't know what they're called, but go into the attic, right, with a little flashlight, dig through all the spider
Right.
webs, find the pipe, take it off,
Exactly.
like, that's the hard work. For me, the parallel to 2020 is that both in our personal lives and as a society,
Mhm.
these issues existed. We were putting buckets in there, right? And just a side note, what a bucket can oftentimes appear as in your personal life is just the other things that you use in your life to not truly acknowledge that it's there. You know what I mean?
Oh man, you're calling people out this
Dude,
year, bro.
like your school can become a bucket, right?
Yeah.
Your work can become a bucket. And all of a sudden March hits and you're at home and those buckets are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're gone, and you actually have to face, what's really there. And what 2020 did is specifically in March, right? Specifically in June, right? When we all took a break, were watching online, and saw police brutality firsthand.
Right.
And even what happened yesterday,
Yeah.
where people went into and breached the Capitol, right? Like, what the heck? Which we'll talk about in a second. But what happened is the roof broke, dude.
Wow. Yeah.
The roof broke. And there was no way, there's no bucket, right? There's no bucket that you could have put to do a quick fix.
Right.
It's like, all right, we're all dealing with this. And this is why we cannot dismiss 2020.
Right. Yeah.
And forget about it.
Yeah. We have to actually choose to fix
Yeah.
the things that were wrong, not just put another bucket.
Another huge, but let me put a tarp,
Yeah.
right, and pretend 2020 didn't exist. It's like, no, the roof caved in, dude.
Yeah. It
Like
did.
Everything was exposed.
Yeah.
Everything was exposed. The brokenness in our system was exposed. The brokenness in our healthcare system was exposed and continues to be exposed.
Yeah.
And the brokenness and emptiness in our lives came to light.
Yeah. Dude, I've always admired you because you've always had good thoughts on things like I can't tell you how much of a voice of hope you were for me during the events in June and July. Surrounding the death of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor.
Yeah.
Like, I was at a loss for words, and you've always been able to give direction for me in
Thanks,
moments
Mom.
like that. And, what I hope to do together is, like, maybe we could provide people with trajectory on how to handle a situation like yesterday.
Right.
Or how to handle a situation like that and how it affects our spiritual life,
Yeah.
Because yesterday was
Tough, dude.
it was a tough day.
And you might be watching this like a week from now, but what day is today? The 7th of January. Yesterday we were just glued to our phones and our TVs, just watching
Yeah.
like madness, dude. Just this group of protesters, pro Trump or whatever it might be, getting to the Capitol building it. And just kind of a side note, because we probably should talk about this.
Yeah, we should.
we feel like the Ultramodern podcast is kind of like a really safe place for us to just kind of have some real conversations. And you guys might disagree with what we have to say, and we all have our own biases, and sometimes when you talk about like deep conversations like that, you know, some of those biases come out, and know that, you know, that's not our intent. But also we want to be honest and know that if you come out of here disagreeing with something, it's fine. Yeah, okay. We love you. You love us, I hope. You know, give us some grace. And we haven't really talked about this. Like, we're just processing through everything.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I don't always agree with myself. Yeah. And there's room to disagree, and that doesn't reflect on a person's worth or anything. Yeah. But at the same time, there's, like, yesterday was that's going to be in history books. Like, our kids, when they're in school, will read about, you know, January 6th, 2021, about how, you know, I don't know what they're going to call them, Trump supporters. I saw some live streams saying patriots, like all these things, you know, these people essentially sieged the Capitol building and occupied it. And, you know,
how did that happen?
I was watching the stream, bro, and there was some crazy things being said, you know, and it wasn't, although it was claiming to be peaceful, they were calling for death, dude.
Straight up, yeah.
And, you know, it makes you wonder where your priorities lie, especially when they are saying those things along the name of Jesus. Because many people were saying, we're here in the name of Jesus. Like, this is a movement in the name of Jesus. And, it makes you wonder, where are your priorities? Is your leadership in the nation that you're a part of, or is your leadership come from Jesus? Yeah. In fact, I mean, I gave a sermon on this yesterday. It comes out on this Saturday for the high schoolers. But one of the things that I talked about was we're going through the book of Exodus together as Crosswalk. Yeah. And in chapter 1, there is a portion that talks about two characters that I guarantee many people don't know, because I didn't know about them.
I heard a piece of that, and I was like, what are these names? I thought they were from some sort of anime.
No, dude.
I was like, dude, this guy's doing another anime illustration?
I'm not, dude. I promise.
They're from the Bible.
They're from Scripture. Shipra and Pua.
Dude, that sounds like anime, bro.
Dude, it's real. I promise you.
Exodus what?
Exodus 1, 15 to 17. Read it. Shoot. These are the midwives. So Pharaoh gives this decree to the midwives, tells them to kill any newborn boy because he was scared of insurrection. He was scared that a nation would rise up against him. Yeah. And, you know, the midwives are just like, nah, I'm not going to do that. Yeah. And the reason that we know that they didn't, given in Scripture, is because they feared God. And fear in this context is associated with reverence. They had reverence for God. Yeah. So because they had reverence for God, and mind you, like, reverence is like, because God is so holy, because God is above me, I am going to choose to follow him with my life. And what you find most reverent is what dictates what you do. They chose to defy a decree given to them by their government so that they could actually follow through with the work of God. So their faithfulness was more to God than it was to the government in their time. Yeah. Now we come here, obviously what just happened, it makes you wonder, where is the reverence there? Is the reverence in God, or is the reverence actually in your disagreement with Nancy Pelosi? Or, or is your allegiance stronger to Trump, or is your allegiance stronger to God? And you got to ask yourself the real question, are the things that I'm doing, the things that I'm saying, actually lining up with the teachings that we see from Jesus in the gospel? Or are we warping this to be something that, fits our political spectrum?
Totally, bro. Like, I saw people with Jesus Save signs, right? And Jesus 2020 signs.
Oh, man.
And to think that for a lot of people, Christianity and dangerous, non-helpful nationalism are just one. For them, they see what they're doing in the name of God, which makes you wonder, like, if you just take a step back, if you're one of those people, right, take a step back and look through history, this is what constantly happens, bro. Like, this is why a lot of these big wars have started. A lot of genocide has started. It's a textbook, dude. Even look at Scripture. Is people use the name of Jesus to do these terrible things. And I wonder, at what point do you say, okay, when when we zoom out,
Mm-hmm.
what side am I on?
Exactly. Yeah.
What side of history
Yeah.
am I on? Am I representing? And I wonder sometimes if that clicks with people, because how does that continue to happen where in 1940, we were seeing this, we were seeing Germans saying, hey, we're doing this in the name of God.
Right. Yeah.
How does that not click for people? But I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and sometimes the line can be blurred in a sense because, we saw Republicans speaking out against what happened yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's hard to group everybody together,
Of course.
even though sometimes you wonder, like, did you not see this trajectory this whole time? But
coming?
that's besides the point.
Yeah.
I think what's important, especially if you're going to proclaim Jesus, is that you have to align yourself with the things that Jesus would do, or
Yeah.
to your best of your ability. And, I just don't know if that was what happened yesterday.
Yeah. No, definitely not. And we'll probably come back to that. But what I do want to say is, I feel my hunch. I could be wrong about this, and if you confirm this, then I know I'm right. My hunch is that a lot of people in our age group are looking at where the church is standing in a lot of these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I say church, I'm not talking about our church. I'm talking about like Christianity and
church.
culture, right?
Yeah.
And are feeling a sense of frustration and anger.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about that with some people yesterday or the other day, and we feel a deep frustration in seeing how the greater church is aligning themselves with some things that just aren't it, man.
Yeah.
Are just not the way. And
Yeah.
that can easily just discourage us so much, in the same way that honestly it's like discouraged me. Like I've wondered sometimes, like, have I been clear about why I believe Jesus is calling me to process things in a certain way.
Right.
And I don't know if you've ever felt that, if you've kind of looked back and said, dude, that's not Christianity for me.
Yeah.
And that's been happening a lot more, it feels like.
Oh, yeah. Like, through the last 4 years, but more specifically 2020, I felt like this huge, like, rift between me and the church. Like,
Right.
I had never, not Crosswalk, but the Big C, like, church as a whole.
Yeah.
I had never experienced something, like, so dividing. And, you put it so well one time. We could cut this out if you don't want me to quote you specifically.
No, you can quote me, bro. Go ahead. I don't even know what you're about to
I
say.
know. No, you were like, we were talking about, because, there's a big movement that's been happening for the past couple of months where worship leaders are going to different cities.
I was about to go into that.
Yeah. And
You
they're
can go
just
for it, bro.
leading like thousands of people. I mean, biggest was at the Washington Monument. I'm forgetting which it was, but where they lead 60,000 people in the midst of a pandemic in worship, And, there's moments like that where you see that and you're like, is that the ask of Jesus right now?
Right.
Like you genuinely feel that Jesus is asking you to gather 60,000 people strong with the reality of coronavirus. Now, I'm sure I can make assumptions. Maybe some people there didn't believe in it. It's a hoax, whatever it is. At the same time, I know people who are nurses. Like people, part of our church, bro, that are coming to our events, and we talk about it, are nurses, and they're in the ER, in these intensive care units.
Right.
And literally, I met with this guy a couple weeks ago. He told me, it is so hard to be there because you are consistently surrounded by death.
Wow.
Like every day there's a death. You go to church or go to work, and you're already expecting that there's going to be some kind of death that day.
That's crazy.
And you makes you wonder, like, is this actually the ask of Jesus to gather so strong? Is that the Christianity that Jesus is calling us to be a part of?
And the quick answer is no.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
No. Like.
No.
It's definitely not. I've been following that movement quite closely.
Yeah.
And it has been very heartbreaking to see that they believe that this is what it looks like to follow Jesus, right? Just several days ago, maybe it was last week, but they actually came to LA.
Oh, really?
And yeah, they went to Skid Row. And and they were announcing it, and a bunch of spiritual leaders from LA were like, "Don't come, please.
Oh man.
Please don't come," because right now in LA, things are crazy.
Yeah.
Like, things are really, really tough, and hospitals are completely filled up. ICU units are filled up. Like, it's getting to a point where, you know, people can't care for everybody. Like, you just can't.
Yeah.
And so this is a really vulnerable community that they're going into, and a bunch of these spiritual leaders were like, "No, like, please don't do that," and they came anyways. And the thing that got me the most is I saw their website, on their merch page, they had a shirt that said "Super Spreader."
Oh man.
You know, and
how insensitive.
how terrible is that, to make a mockery out of the death and the pain that's being experienced
Yeah.
by our community.
Yeah. By our world.
By our world. Like,
it's not even a redemption of what's happening, because in a sense you could say the cross was redeemed to be from death to life. So now, like, it's now a symbol of life, or once it was death. But in the moment right now where we are, what a terrible thing to put on a shirt. Super spreader, really?
Terrible.
Really?
Yeah, terrible. And they ended up coming, and they did worship there, and posted it everywhere, and it was very heartbreaking to see. Like, healthcare workers were commenting like, "Yo, guys, please don't do this. You know, we're struggling every single day." I remember seeing a TikTok, actually, where it showed like this party happening where like there was a bunch of people there, nobody was wearing masks, and you know how you can duet people on TikTok. Well, there was a healthcare worker.
Oh man.
And she was just watching. She had all, you know, her PPE on. And I saw that, and I just thought, imagine, you know, going to work and putting your own life at risk every single day, and just looking at the internet and seeing people just blatantly not care.
Yeah. How heartbreaking.
That's heartbreaking, man.
So now I think it's hard to talk about big topics because sometimes like the solution takes a long time to get to, right? But something that I'm really learning right now is, although I can't control all the things around me, there are some things in my own life that I could control and that I could like be intentional about. And you know, this new year, like I think one of the things that we need to really be mindful of is intentionality. And not in like the cheesy way, because like new year, new me, like like everybody's on a diet right now currently. Let's see how long that lasts.
You're
like,
on a diet right now.
I am on a diet. Octavia, this is not a
commercial.
It's not a commercial. It's hard, dude.
It is.
Octavia, for those of you guys who don't know, is like a like program, like an eating program. So they send you food with like specific calories and nutrition and whatnot, and it's hard. It's really hard.
Dude.
Yeah, because the food is gross.
It's bad.
It's not good. But you know, New Year is usually filled with resolutions and things that we want to do different. And you know, I'm trying to think like, how do we make it different? Because I just feel like every year, New Year, new me, New Year's resolution becomes more and more like gimmicky or like fake, you know?
Yeah.
Of like,
and it carries a stereotype that you're not actually going to go through with it.
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. And you know, I'm realizing we need to make a pivot in that. Like, how do we make this year a year that we're actually proud of, or a year that's meaningful, you know? And you know, that, mind you, we'll get into it a bit more, but I don't think a new year, like a meaningful year, has to be an easy year or like a necessarily like good year without like issues or not. I think what will make a year is where you feel strong in your faith, you feel strong in your community. And one of the things that I think we really need to focus in on is foundations. And you know, for our high schoolers, we're going through a series called Foundations. For college, it's like the same series essentially, but we're calling it Rebuild the Dream. But it still has that same idea. Like, we need to build deep our foundation, something that we can, you know, rely on and be set on.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm not an architect. I don't know much about architecture, but what I do know is that a building is only as strong as its foundations.
Yeah, that's good.
If the foundations aren't built strong, built to last, then the structure will fall.
Yeah.
And you know, it could be the most beautiful big grand building in the world,
Right.
if the foundations are not strong, then the building is going to fall.
Yeah.
And something that I really learned in 2020 was that I was building on things that weren't going to sustain me. Like I was building on things that I was just going to topple on because they weren't
Yeah.
actually built to sustain me.
Yeah.
For example, and I talked about this on 2 podcasts ago, I was obsessed with this trendy church personality,
Yeah, dude.
Like I want to be this cool pastor that wears cool clothes and says cool things and is with the times, listens
Yes,
to
dude.
Frank Ocean, like ridiculous things. That's a persona, right?
Right.
And very quickly I realized, like, oh man, that's not
Same here.
sustaining my heart. That's
Right.
not what I'm wanting to do, And perhaps, like, if you're listening right now, or Isai, if you want to share too, like, maybe the things that you've been kind of building upon, or trying to, or even, let's say what you said earlier, you're taking the bucket and putting it underneath the leak
Right.
instead of actually leaning into the things that your faith needs, that your
Right.
life needs.
Right.
So we're going to be talking about how to rebuild that, how to be more intentional about our faith and that.
Yeah, that's good, dude.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, I think several of them, if you want to start going into some of them,
Let's do it.
that come to mind. One we just talked about literally right before this podcast is creating good circles of accountability and support.
So important.
I'm grateful to have, don't want to make this a bro moment, but I'm grateful to have Andy and several other close friends who I can lean into and be real honest. But those are the people I go to for hope and support and also spiritual accountability. Do you have anybody in your life who says, hey, you should have, how are things going with God?
Yeah.
Right.
What an unpopopular thing to ask somebody too,
that sounds weird.
Yeah.
Kind of. Like, do you have anybody besides your mom, right? Who's like, Mijo, are you praying? my mom keeps me accountable, man. Yeah.
That's good. Dude. Shout out our moms.
Yeah, like my mom is a faithful person, but if we look at our parents, actually, not everybody's like that, not everybody's parents, but our parents are similar in that they have created they have created their lives around these foundations.
Yeah.
And they're disciplined in it, dude.
Yeah.
Like I grew up waking up to my dad studying the Bible at like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And I was like, Dad, why do you got to do it so early? My mom, same thing too. My mom would just read text to us all the time. And I'm not saying that this is what you have to do, right? But they had their foundations down, and they were disciplined in them, and they called that out of me too, right? And so, do we have relationships and people in our lives that are calling us to more and to be disciplined in those foundations? I think that's huge, man. Like, I don't know how you do that alone.
Yeah, that is such a good point. You can only go so far on your own.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, dude, like, I had a similar experience. And in the moment growing up, I didn't like worshiping. Like, it's not I didn't like Jesus. I just didn't I thought it was boring because my parents would have us sit down around the couch in the living room, and then she would read a devotional, and then I promise you 9 times out of 10, I was just not listening. I was just staring.
Right,
and then she'd be like, what do you think, Andy? I'm like, oh yeah, I really liked what she said.
It's great.
It's so good.
Yes, Jesus is good.
But from an early age, my parents really instilled this importance for prayer, this importance for a devotional life. And I'm not saying I always did it, but now that I'm older, I can firmly say that some of the most powerful moments in my life, or some of the most clarity that I've gained in my life, has come after being disciplined and building that foundation.
Right.
In things like prayer, or things like devotional. And, it's just an unpopular thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Especially, here's what I think it was. In my experience with church, it went from ultra conservative to let's do things different, to now we're just like devotional. Like, what are you talking about? You know?
Right,
So
yeah.
like, I think it was an escape
Huh.
from conservatism.
Yeah.
And then we quickly found ourselves like with no foundation. So like for me in my life, I had to, because sometimes I'll have thoughts in my head about, you know, what would Jesus think about this, or what am I being called to?
Mhm.
And I will think, man, I'm just being really legalistic right now. I'm just being like, and I realize like I will mask not reading my Bible or mask not praying with, oh, that's not what God's calling me to. It's legalistic.
That's good.
When in reality,
Yeah, that's
no,
true.
I am just like depriving myself of something that my heart actually needs.
That's good, bro. I really vibe with that. Maybe to put more language to it is, a lot of us who grew up in church went through a deconstruction.
Yeah.
That, to be clear, was important. Like,
Yeah.
it was needed for us
Oh, yeah.
to then experience faith in a way that made sense to us,
Yes,
right?
dude.
And we got rid of a lot of unhealthiness.
Mm-hmm.
But after the deconstruction, it was like, then what's there? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
in the process of deconstruction, we might have done away with a lot of what someone would say traditional values
Right.
that are actually like really important and
Yeah.
really helpful. And things like, for example, I couldn't find a way to talk about lifestyle practices
Wow.
outside of legalism.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know how, and so I just stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And we didn't know how to have those conversations of like, hey, here's how to live a better life
Yeah.
outside of legalism. We just didn't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Where now, I feel like we're coming to the realization like, dude, we need to talk about these things, not in the context of, if you don't do this, you're not going to be saved.
Exactly.
Or like God's mad at you. It's like, God has shown us the best possible way to live.
Yeah.
And we're doing this out of our joy and out of our abundance, and this is what it looks like
Exactly.
to follow Jesus, not from this place of fear that we're not going to go to heaven, or
Yeah.
that God doesn't love us, or he's angry, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But they are important still.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's hard to try to live, even the language that I'm going to use seems legalistic, but like follow the entire thought. It's hard to live a holy life, or let's say a pure life, with the idea of, if I don't, then God is going to damn me to hell.
Yeah, that ain't
you know,
it.
like when you're holding that over your head, and well, yeah, that it's completely hard.
Yeah.
But there's like a pivot that I experienced where
Mhm.
I realize maybe my lifestyle and the things that I'm choosing to do and the things that I'm not doing is actually hurting me, rather than me actually escaping legalism.
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
It-
you're missing out on. Yeah, absolutely, dude.
And I've asked you about this too, because I've asked you, like, how do you approach somebody that, like, because what's a big thing in church? Let's just be honest. Like, how do you approach someone who does drugs but goes
Yeah.
to church, right? Or how do you approach someone who drinks and goes to church? And like, that's a hard question. I don't exactly know how to approach it.
Yeah.
Well, what I will say is, I have felt the effects of quote unquote sin in my life.
Sure.
You know, I don't want to escape the language. Whatever, sin.
Yeah.
I have felt the effects of sin in my life, and the actual feeling of it has always been shame,
Yeah.
a hiding of what I'm actually feeling,
Yeah.
not wanting anybody to know what I did or find out what I did. And as a
Mhm.
result, I find myself living like this very, like, what's that guy from Lord of the Rings that's very like, all he wants is the ring? Like,
I know the skinny guy.
The skinny guy.
I don't watch any of those, but I actually know what you're talking about.
yeah, they're demonic. No, I'm just kidding.
the demon. Yes, exactly.
Exactly. That guy, I just feel like all of a sudden, not that I'm evil, but I just feel like I've become a version of myself that I don't like.
Yeah.
And let's not over spiritualize it. That's not a scary thing. What I'm saying is, like, sometimes when we're practicing certain things, we know that it's not good for our hearts. We
Right.
actually feel it,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's just a hard thing to let it go.
Yes,
you know?
dude.
Especially because you balance. It's a weird progressive Christianity where we talk about how, you are saved by Jesus, and then that escapes the conversation of lifestyle. Or you talk about lifestyle, and it hangs in the between this
Yes,
contingency
dude.
of like, but then I'll go to hell if I don't.
Yeah.
How do we shut that down and actually be like, Jesus wants me to live an abundant life. John
That's good, dude.
something
10:10.
10:10.
I think.
Live life and a life abundant. Like that's what
Yeah.
God wants for us. How do we step into that, you know?
Dude, that's a really good question. I think it might be um, a moving on type of action, you know? So if, as long as everything that you do is hinged on your salvation and your acceptance, like you believe that everything you'll do will jeopardize your either salvation or your acceptance, you're always going to live in that paradigm. And so what's been helpful for me is to have confidence in that,
Right.
right? Have confidence in that and then move on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And personally, I'm not living a life anymore where I'm questioning God's love, how God sees me as valuable and as his
Right.
child, or if I'm going to go to heaven or not.
Yeah.
Because I have found salvation, right?
Yeah.
And I have found peace in that. Once you're confident, and that sounds kind of arrogant,
No, it's not arrogant.
but it's not. Like
Yeah.
we should be able to, like, bro, are you saved?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I am. And so once you're confident about that process, I'm valued by God. I'm loved so much.
Yeah.
I'm gonna live eternally with God, right? At some
Yeah.
point, God has saved me, transformed me. Then move on.
Yeah.
Then what?
Yeah.
Then what is that life abundantly?
Right.
And move on, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Move on and say, all right, now what does this life look like? We need to be able to make that step, because as long as everything we do, you know, our salvation and the acceptance we experience from God
Yeah.
hinges on every little action, then we're always going to live in that paradigm,
Yeah.
right? But feel confident in that. Feel
Yeah.
confident in your salvation. And then, all right, this life abundant, what does that look like?
That's so good.
Right?
That's so good.
And you get to focus on that a bit more without actually, you know, stressing out about every single
Yeah.
thing.
It's like
Yep.
leaning into, like, you can actually trust what Jesus says.
Yeah.
Like, if you can actually trust that Jesus loves you, that is the biggest game changer. You know?
Right.
And, you know, I think maybe a fear that some people may have is that when they accept Jesus, or if they change lifestyle, they're giving up something that was very valuable or that was awesome, and that they're leaving it behind for something that's just going to be like weird, conservative, boring
Sure.
life, you know?
Sure.
And, you know, I'm gonna relate it to Octavia, because we both, like, I'm new to it. You've done
I
it.
did it, yeah.
Octavia, just a reminder, is like this
The little
food
diet
program, diet thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, they give you food. And I'm telling you, this is my first week doing it. I can't tell you how many times I've talked Emily's ears off about me wanting to quit. I'm like, this is dumb. Like, why am
Bro,
I
you want to
doing
go grab
this?
some food right now?
Yeah, you want to go get a burrito?
Just kidding.
No, don't
I'm
do it.
a terrible friend, actually.
And, you know, I'm just, because the whole reason I wanted to quit was because I felt like I was never going to be able to enjoy food again, which is such a, I know, I understand, like, a privileged thing to say in our world, but like we enjoy food. Food is awesome. And a big reason why I didn't want to do Octavia anymore this week is because I don't want to give up food.
Right. I feel that.
Then I had dinner. My coach is Ariana. She led worship this morning.
She did great.
Thank you, Ariana. Ariana is my coach, and she helps me learn how to eat well, and like she's coaching me through this. And you know, I'm sitting here thinking like, I'm never gonna eat anything healthy again.
Yeah.
And then Natalie and Angel come over. I just moved to a new house, which is exciting. I have my own spot
Congrats.
now. And you know, they came over for dinner, and they're like, we're gonna make chicken parm. And I'm like, oh, I want it.
Yeah.
And I text Ariana that, and like, but they're making chicken parm, and she goes, you can eat it. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah. Like, why don't you think it's protein? You eat a salad with it, you're good. And I was like, I can actually. So that night,
Yeah.
they made dinner. It was smelling so good. I had my
Oh.
stupid little snacks or whatever, you know.
Dude,
and
little meals.
finally, like, it comes down to dinner, and they gave me this big old chicken with the marinara sauce, cheese on
that
it,
sounds so good.
red pepper flakes,
Come
some
on.
chili oil. Oh my dude, I was like, I can do this forever,
Right.
because I know that there's something good that I can still eat. You know what I'm saying?
Good, yeah.
Dude, let me relate it to our spiritual life. Like when we accept Jesus and we give up certain things that are harmful,
Mm-hmm.
the feeling can be hard because you're like, oh, I'm just giving it up for this boring
Sure.
life, like that I'm not going to be happy with.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, like
good
sometimes you
life.
got to dig deep and just
Yeah.
like go through it, because there. That's okay.
You're the best, bro.
We
Oh,
love
is your
you,
phone
Devin.
okay, bro?
Is it okay?
If you guys hear a little, he's taking pictures.
He's taking
making
pictures.
us look so good.
Yeah, it's gonna be some cool content coming out. If you are like trying to change your habits this year,
Yeah.
I promise you, dig deep, go through it, because there is a life that Jesus actually wants you to
Yeah.
live that is fulfilling.
Yeah.
That is going to leave you not feeling empty, because some things are fun, but they leave you empty, but
No
are going to
doubt.
leave you fulfilled.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes you just being like, I know it sucks right now because I'm
Right.
giving up something that I enjoy, but I'm giving it up for something much better.
It's discipline. Like
Yes.
how much discipline do you need to every 2-3 hours have that little gross meal, right? Do all your measurements,
Exactly.
It's tough, but I mean, it's the same thing as working out, which I can't obviously speak out of experience, right? But everybody who talks about working out, they talk about, hey, consistency.
Hey, you
That's-
have consistency, bro. You've been doing great.
Sometimes.
No,
I actually haven't worked out in a while, but that's because I thought I had COVID.
no, that's true too. That's a good.
Okay, that's a good excuse.
Thank
I
you
thought
for not.
I didn't have COVID. Bunch of negative tests. Okay, I promise. But I actually haven't been very consistent. And the thing is, I could be working out at home, but I was just like, oh, I probably have COVID. I'm probably
My
sick.
lungs.
Yeah, dude. Actually, what's funny is I thought I had COVID, right? And I was getting tested, and it was actually quite a scary time. But I was walking up these stairs, and I was like all out of breath, right? I was like, oh man, this is like one of the symptoms. I have COVID for sure. And then I just kept getting negatives. And I was like, dang it, it's not that. I'm just out of shape, dude. Yeah, it's terrible. But anyways, I think our generation specifically can benefit from the conversation of discipline.
Yes.
And I think we should probably, and we probably will be talking about what some of these disciplines are, but maybe to set the foundation to the foundational, the conversation about foundations is that one of the important things, that we need to experience the fullness of life is consistency. Is committing. You're not married yet.
I'm not.
But I am, which is awesome.
This is my right hand.
Yeah,
I know maybe you've been
exactly.
saying.
I got a ring. I got an engagement ring, which we should make that normal.
Yeah.
Do an engagement ring.
I'm
right?
with it, bro.
Because
Wait, don't
Hazel,
touch me, bro.
don't
Just
touch me.
kidding.
Hazel would, once we got engaged, she would show all her friends, right? And everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, let me
There's
see."
that
I'm like,
picture
"Dude,
that everybody does.
yeah, I got engaged too." Right? I should have. So I bought this $10 on Amazon.
Hey.
You know what I mean? Anyways, but what a marriage is, it's like I'm committing to you for the rest of my life, through thick and thin. I'm committing to this for forever. And as we're getting to know each other, as we go through life together, we're experiencing so much beauty, man.
Yeah.
And we're getting to know each other and experiencing the beauty of a partnership. Dude, I want to read a text, and it might take me a second to
That's okay, dude.
to figure out. Let's see.
I'm loving what you're saying, bro.
Yeah, one of the stereotypes that our generation has, found it, is the stereotype that we just can't commit to things. And sometimes I think this is completely false, right? Like people can, Josh is calling me. People can, I've seen our generation commit to things, right? Commit to friendships, commit to hobbies, commit to church, and it's been beautiful. But sometimes I'm like, dude, that stereotype might be true, because we sometimes move from one thing to the next, and it's easy for us. Even like our phones. Like I've seen people treat their phones like crazy because why? They know if they break it, it's just easy to replace. Let's just replace things.
Yeah.
Or if something's broken, let's
Get another one.
Yeah, as opposed to fix it. Right.
Right.
As opposed to like committing to something that's just part of who we are. And I'm afraid that we will miss out on the beauty of the fullness of life because we're too quick to replace as opposed to heal and commit and to stick to something. And I just,
ooh, that's good, dude.
I want to read this, dude, because this is in 2 Timothy. And keep in mind, Paul right here, he's in prison. All right. And prisons were intense back then. Mm-hmm. Like at any moment you could die. You know, you're starving to death. He's in prison and he's about to die. Right. All right. And he knows it. And this is the very last book that he wrote, the letter, 2 Timothy. And in the very last chapter of the last book before Paul got executed, he says this. Let me try to find it. Oh, this is good. This is chapter 4. It's going to be a little long, but it's worth it. Bro. 2 Timothy 4. In the presence of God and of Christ Jesus, who will judge the living and the dead, and in view of his appearing and his kingdom, I give you this charge. Preach the word. Be prepared in season and out of season. Correct, rebuke, and encourage. With great patience and careful instruction. For the time will come when people will not put up with sound doctrine. Instead, to suit their own desires, they will gather around them a great number of teachers to say what their itching ears want to hear. Ooh, that's fire, dude.
Jeez,
that's
bro.
Truth for now. They will turn their ears away from the truth and turn aside to myths. But you keep your head in all situations.
Wow.
Endure hardships. Do the work of an evangelist. Discharge all the duties of your ministry.
Wow.
And then he says this, bro. This is fire. Again, he knows he's about to die. This is the end of his life. And he says this. For I am already being poured out like a drink offering, and the time for my departure is near. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day.
Wow.
And not only to me, but also to all who have longed for his appearing.
Wow.
So I look at Paul to be able to say this at the end of his life. He is proud that he can look back and say, I have kept the faith.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
I have endured. I have kept going strong. I have finished the race. And now he experienced this incredible sense of peace. And it seems like he is experiencing the fullness of life, dude.
Right. Yeah.
He's like, I did it. And the spirit that he has is one of endurance.
Wow.
Of consistency.
Yeah.
Of commitment. And when I look at this, dude, and we're not in jail, we're not like about to die, right?
Yeah.
This guy went into ministry and it messed up his life. It didn't make it easier, right? It was tough. Things got tough, and he's still at the end of his life, after everything he had gone through, after being beaten, after being put into prisons multiple times, he says, you know what? I'm glad that I endured. And I have committed to this. And if I can charge our generation with one thing, is to not shy away from commitment, from endurance, from pushing through the difficult moments. Getting married is the craziest thing I've ever done. I used to think that Like, oh, that life, that's like your typical life, man. To get married is a really big deal, because you're saying through thick and thin, this is it.
Yeah.
I'm committing so that at the end of my life, I can look back and say, babe, look what we've done. Like, look, we endured. We stuck through it.
Yeah.
And now we experience we have experienced the fullness of life that only comes from a deep commitment.
Yeah.
And so this spirit that Paul has, man, is what I want.
Yeah.
And as we talk about these foundations, this needs to be that needs to really be the foundation to these foundational conversations. Is like, we're here for the long run.
Yeah. That's so good, dude.
Yeah, man. Anyways.
Bro, I love you, man. Thanks
Love you,
for
bro.
sharing that wisdom, man. And I hope that when you're listening to this, that you would know that commitment is possible for you.
Yeah.
You know, New Year's resolutions, like you said, comes along with this idea of like, I'm just going to give them up.
Right.
But commitment is possible. Like the
And beautiful.
abundant fullness life
And beautiful, yeah.
and beautiful life that Jesus has for us is possible.
Yeah.
And, you know, as we close, I just want you to know you are so loved. You are
Yes.
so cared for. I want you to know that you can actually depend on the love of Jesus, that
Yeah.
trust that is true. You don't have to worry about that. And, you know, commitment is difficult, but
Yeah.
I want you to know there's a community here, Future of Crosswalk, that wants to surround you, to take care of you, to help heal you,
Yeah.
so that you could become the person that God is calling you to be, to experience that Zoe life, that
That's
abundant life. And, you know, we're going to do this together.
Yeah.
Like, this is not something we're going alone. Like, we actually need each other.
We do.
So don't feel like that you're alone. And, you know, we're going to run this race.
Let's do it, dude. 2021, whatever it is, we're not gonna coast through it.
Nope.
If this first week has taught us anything.
Yep.
But we gotta keep the faith, man.
Yeah.
We gotta keep going.
Hey, thanks for
you.
listening. Love you, bro. Love you guys.
Peace, guys.
Catch you guys later. Bye.